Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. My name is, of course, the Battle Room, and today I am joined by the teams from the first ever Pokemon Champions Regional that took place this last weekend in Indianapolis. Now, there's a ton of new teams, a ton of meta progressions, and I would say the players really came out to play this weekend. We got some really cool teams, some very, very cool, interesting meta developments. So first things first, let's talk about the usage. Now, going into this regional, we knew that Basculegion was the Pokemon to beat. He is currently #1 in usage in-game. We're seeing him everywhere. He just fits onto so many teams. And of course, the power of last respects cannot be disrespected. But we see him at 50%, and then we also see King Gambit at a solid 48.2, which honestly is quite nuts. King Gambit is obviously a very good Pokemon and one of the only Pokemon that reliably checks Basculegion. Now, obviously, you can still get Wave Crash, you can still get Aqua Jet, but King Gambit full HP versus Basculegion full HP, King Gambit is going to win that, right? He is going to press Kowtow Cleave. Basculegion is going to do a lot, but also sometimes, hey, he's going to pick him off before he moves with a Sucker Punch. So I think their interaction is really, really important in this entire metagame, but it's also the reason why we see King Gambit doing as well as it does. Garchomp being third doesn't surprise me either. We're in a low power format. I've said it 100 times and I'll say it 100 times more. Garchomp loves low powered formats, and he is just simply one of the best Pokemon of all time in those formats. We see him thrive in stuff like 2012, 2014, 2017, and now 2026. He's back on top. He's the king, baby. I love Garchomp. I love playing with him, and I feel like he is going through a lot of changes, and he is functioning very, very different than the Garchomp of old. He's very much more focused on his bulk and just trying to, take a last respects, trying to trade well with King Gambit. We see items like Roselli Berry, Citrus Berry, a lot of just extra bulk for our boy. It's not about just dealing the most damage or just trading him with like a Focus Sash. It's just like, hey, he wants to stick around for a while and he wants to be that reliable switch. Charizard at 4th. This is insane. This is absolutely insane that a Mega Pokemon is over a third of the players in the tournament are using 1 Mega. I mean, technically it could be 2 because there are some Charizard X players, but like, let's be real, there's probably like 1% of those. So I think it's still over a third of the players using Charizard Y, but absolutely insane showing from our boy. Sneasler at 33rd makes a lot of sense. Early on in the format, we saw a lot of the Basculegion, King Gambit, Sneasler core, specifically how they kind of counter each other, right? And Sneasler has slowly fallen off pretty hard. I think Sneasler is still a good Pokemon, very, very important for dealing with a lot of the fairies and the other Pokemon in the format who are weak to poison and also weak to fighting, like King Gambit. So I think Sneasler has value and is very strong. It's just not as good as its other two brethren in King Gambit and Basculegion. Whimsicott was the big come up for this tournament. Whimsicott is absolutely nuts, and I think we finally figured out how good Tailwind can be and how important Tailwind is in this format. So we're seeing a ton more Whimsicott. Again, almost 30%. Incineroar down to number, 7? A little bit higher than in-game, but I think that's about where Incineroar should be. You have to be very, very careful in how you use him, and you have to be very deliberate. And he needs to be on the right team, but I think Incineroar is still strong. Aerodactyl fell off quite a bit because of the rise of Whimsicott, but we're still seeing him there. He's still strong. He's still solid. Mega Aerodactyl is really good, and also you can still run a supportive set. You just have to deal with the limitations of your matchup into Whimsicott because they have priority. You don't. Floette at 21. Floette is obviously very strong right now. It's a very good Mega Pokemon. I mean, technically Aerodactyl is here. He can be Mega, but like this is our second Mega here because there certainly are more Aerodactyls than there are Mega Charizard X's, but there still are a lot of non-Mega Aerodactyls as well. But Floette 21, very solid. Sylveon rising up as well into this tournament. I think Fairy types are just very, very good. There's not a lot of good fairy resist in the format. If you don't play Charizard, you most likely don't have a fairy resist, right? King Gambit is the best steel type. Boom, no fairy resist. If you're not running Charizard, you don't have a fire type. There aren't, like, you're running Instant, he's not a fairy resist, right? So fairy type Pokemon are just thriving right now and putting on a ton of pressure. Glamora, 15%. I think this is just a remnant of how strong the Suika #1 rank 1 team with Glamora team was, that there's still a ton of Glamora, and I think Glamora is a very solid Pokemon. Has fallen off quite a bit, but also we see that some teams just run Glamora on like other teams, that you don't have to run it on that original Charizard Sun team. Glamora is showing its strength. And then for Farigiraf #12 at 14%, honestly quite high for Farigiraf. I think Farigiraf is a very strong Pokemon. It is like the only reliable Trick Room setter in the current format, so I think Farigiraf makes a lot of sense that it barely snuck in there. So this is just simply the day one, right? Now going into day two, those usage stats are going to change up quite a bit. So King Gambit rises to 60%? 60? That's absolutely nuts. Basket Legion right behind him at 59, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I think King Gambit is very good in this format. I wouldn't say he's the king. I wouldn't say he's the best guy, but he's very, very good. Garchomp only rising as well at 58. He was at 44. Charizard's going to go up to 42. And then interestingly here, we're actually going to see Floette skyrocket. Floette was a very, very good day two conversion rate, 34% from 21. That's really incredible. And then Incineroar, you doubt him. Anytime you doubt the king, he's coming back, dude. He's coming back stronger. Incineroar is a fraud, blah, blah, blah. He sucks. Now he rises back up into top 6, which honestly, I think this is a crazy rise for him. Like these guys are so absurdly broken, right? Like these 3 best Pokemon in the format, then we have the best 2 megas. It's impressive that he's still knocking on their door. He's still trying to get up there, even in this low-powered format for him. Whimsicott drops a little bit, drops down there. Same with Sneasler. Aerodactyl actually just remains like, no, he drops ever so slightly. I guess technically Whimsicott went up in percentage. Sinestcha just out of nowhere, right? No Cinny, boom, Cinny. I think the reason why Cinny is so good is there's just this kind of protect the queen comp that's going around, which usually just involves Incineroar, Sinestcha, Floette, and Charizard. This core is so strong. It's very difficult to actually get through it because you have to call which mega they're going to bring. Obviously, your answers into Charizard are very different than your answers into Floette. And so I think running them together is really strong. But then you also have to respect Fake Out plus Calm Mind, and then switch into Cinny, heal the Calm Mind guy, and just keep spamming strong fairy moves. And then Cinny also provides Rage Powder for that team. I think Sinestcha had fallen off quite a bit, but I think this comp specifically has given her a lot of light. We also see Cinny on some other comps too. It's still a pretty solid, good Pokemon, but it really did convert in day 2, and I think a lot of that is just from that Floette team comp that we see. Sylveon remains the same, about 16%. It did really solid. Sylveon is still great. Like, there's not too much to be said there. And then Dragonite actually takes over instead of Farigiraf. Dragonite is very interesting. We're going to talk about Mega Dragonite in these teams that we're about to break down. But I think that Mega Dragonite was looking really, really good into this tournament specifically. I felt that way. I decided to run Mega Dragonite myself. And so, yeah, I think Mega Dragonite is just in a really, really solid spot. Obviously, regular Dragonite is pretty solid as well. But I think a lot of this is from Mega Dragonite and his influence on the meta. So now that we got this boring usage stats out of the way, let's talk about the players and their teams that they used to top cut the first ever Pokemon Champions Regional. So the first person we have here is Patrick Dillon. This is a pretty, like, it has those Pokemon I was talking about with the Floette Queen comp, but then we also have Tyranitar as the king here, right? I think the main idea is, again, you have Fake Out, you pair that next to Floette, you can press Fake Out Calm Mind, you can set him up, and then if Floette gets low, or you just parting shot out, you can just bring in Cinny, heal up, or just bring in Cinny to press Rage Powder to remove those scary threats like King Gambit, like Sneasler from Floette, so you're able to consistently spam those Dazzling Gleams, spam a little Draining Kiss, and heal up. But what's really cool about this team is it's actually like a double setup team. We have Tyranitar paired with Excadrill, and potentially Tyranitar can set up as well, using both Incineroar and Sinestcha to get it going. But then we also have this fast mode with Sand and also Rotom. Rotom also has great util for the Floette, spamming Will-O-Wisp, getting Volt Switch to bring in Cinny, to bring in Incin. It's a very cool team in that way because you do have, like, Rotom is not normally, he is a support Pokemon for the most part, but he also does really good damage. But just the pivot move alone of Volt Switch gives Rotom insane utility on this team. You're able to Volt Switch, bring in Sand, you could Volt Switch, bring in either of your support Pokemon, get your Mega into a nice, comfortable spot so it can get going. I think it's a very, very cool addition to the team. and it gives a lot of depth to both modes, in my opinion. This is a 2-mode team, kind of what I was talking about, but with sand instead of sun, which I think makes it really, really cool. I think Mega Tyranitar is very clearly a strong Pokemon, as we're about to see. And I think this is a good team that really helps enable him. Like in the Charizard matchups, you have Sand, and in the non-Charizard matchups, you have Floette, which I think is very strong. So I think it's a very cool team and one that would be very frustrating to approach in Team Preview. Next up here, we do have Charizard X. I did shit on him a little bit earlier, but Charizard X is still here. He's still very, very okay. I think what Charizard X does, like, he is just so good into Charizard Y, but then fighting Charizard Y's partners just suck, right? Like, it's so difficult and annoying to get through Pokemon like Garchomp, like, you know, Tailwind plus Garchomp, Tailwind plus Glamora, right? There's a lot of great partners for Charizard Y right now that do just dumpster Charizard X, but he does wall Charizard Y, which is very cool. But what's cool about this team too, it's very similar to the team we just talked about. Kind of seeing why Sinestia has so high usage. You're able to just lead Fake Out, set up your Calm Mind Floette, set up your Charizard, and then you bring in the healer. You have Rage Powder. You also have a second Fake Out in Sneasler here. You're able to press Fake Out to enable Floette, or you press Fake Out to enable the Dragon Dance Charizard. You can also potentially coaching either of them, because coaching Floette is very, very real. It allows Floette to get a defense boost, which is its worst stat and its main Achilles heel. So you're able to just say, hey, I don't care that I'm giving Floette an attack boost. I'm giving it a defense boost, and that's worth it. And sometimes I'm sure that can win games, because a lot of people, it can get very, very thin lines, and it can be very difficult. Thin margins to beat a Floette, and potentially coaching could upset those margins and allow you to just take the dub and just become unkillable. So this is just a pure setup team. You also have coaching for King Gambit as well, which I think is strong. You're able to help enable him. King Gambit doesn't have Sucker or Swords Dance, but that's okay. You can still coach him, you can still enable him. King Gambit is also just a very great Pokemon, very good into Basculegion, which this team kind of hates, especially Scarf. So I think it makes a lot of sense. It's again very much like the last team we looked at. It's all about setting up the Queen and letting her shine. This one's not running the Draining Kiss set, and instead has Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam just for that consistent damage, just relying on the healing here. So very cool team from AJ. Next up, we have Noah Gardner here with a, oh, you guessed it, another Protect the Queen Floette comp here. We've got Fake Out plus Floette, but this one actually has a Mouse Hold that is able to come in here, help enable Floette further, whether it's with Super Fang or Follow Me, or even Taunt. Taunt is actually very cool to stop annoying Trick Rooms, speed control, utility moves. So pairing these two together, super obnoxious to deal with. And then you also have Incineroar and Sneasler to also enable the Floette. But there's a king to this queen. We have Swords Dance King Gambit as well, so you're able to kind of throw them off in Team Preview. It is a solo Mega Floette team, which is kind of interesting. I feel like Floette is a very good double Mega, but I think solo can obviously work. It's worked really well here. But what's cool too is if you don't want to set up Floette, you can just lead Fake Out plus King Gambit. He can synergize with either of them. He can synergize with Mousehold. And then a Black Glasses Sucker Punch is a nuclear bomb. And I think that a lot of people aren't prepared for Black Glasses Sucker Punch. I think it can get out of hand very, very quickly. So I think it makes a lot of sense to see it, you know, succeed here. This team looks incredibly read heavy, right? You got to get those Sucker Punch calls. You got to make sure you're setting up your Floette and dealing those damage. This one does have Draining Kiss as well to help enable it further. And then to round out the entire team, we have Scarf Basculegion, the king, the GOAT, still kicking, dude. He's still kicking. Scarf has fallen out of favor a little bit, but I think it's still a very, very strong pick. It outspeeds most of the format. Wave Crash, Last Respects, Checkmating. It's just so broken, right? Especially if you're setting up this Floette with all these guys, you start dealing some damage, you're chipping them down, your support Pokemon are fainting, but he's alive. He can come in late game and just clean up an entire game, right? So I totally respect the Basculegion here, and I think it kind of fits the pacing of just like, hey, we'll trade as much as we can, and Basculegion will clean up. So very strong team from Noah Gardner. Next up, we have Christopher Hahn. With the big six of the format, if you will. In our usage stats here, we have these 6 Pokemon, and we have these 6 Pokemon, right? These are literally the top 6 most used Pokemon. It's kind of funny that they make a team. I think Sneasler Really, this team is just Sneasler over Glamora, but I think Sneasler does fit the team very well. I think Glamora is very sick, very cool, but at the same time, Sneasler can add a lot of utility, right? It adds fake out. It adds that consistent fighting type to help deal with enemy King Gambits, gives you a little bit of a better matchup into Floette, right? You're able to pressure Floette with Dire Claw, deal big damage. I think it just pairs well with some of the, the Pokemon here. It's Sneasler, it's still a great Pokemon, obviously over Glamora. I really like the choice to run Scarf Basculegion as well. Another big thing is if you're not running Glamora, the Sash is available for Whimsicott, which I think has gotten better and better over time. Obviously, we saw a lot of the Fairy Feather Whimsicott originally, but I am a huge fan of Sash Whimsicott right now. I think it was kind of the move for Whimsicott players going into this tournament. So it makes sense that you're going to see it here. Again, it sets up Tailwind for the boys. Charizard can get going, Garchomp too. All these Pokemon enjoy speed if you need it. But what I think is really neat too is like, Whimsicott doesn't need to be broad. You can just shoo him away, and you can just use your high defense and bulk stats, and your high natural speed, right? You have a Scarf Basculegion. Garchomp is naturally very fast. We see that Jolly nature is here well. Charizard is fat, can take those hits and trade well with opponents. So you don't even need the speed control sometimes, and then you just get to hit them with some of the best Pokemon in the game. And also you'll notice here we have Iron Head over Low Kick, which I think is very valuable just because, you're able to, you have the fighting coverage here. You don't need to rely on King Gambit to beat other King Gambits. So it does allow you to run Iron Head, which I think is really nice. I think Iron Head King Gambit is amazing in this format. It's just hard to come to the conclusion because enemy King Gambits are at 60% usage. So you want to be able to smack them with a low kick of your own. He becomes one of the best counters to himself if he has low kick. So it is that hard choice to make, but I like the choice here of Iron Head, and I think that this team looks really, really solid. It is the best most used 6 Pokemon in day 1, but I think they're the best Pokemon for a reason. And I think putting them all on one team, funnily enough, I think their typing looks good. The pacing of the team looks consistent. Like, this looks like a really solid team, and I'm sure he didn't know what those 6 Pokemon were going to be. But yeah, I think another cool thing to note here is the Poison Jab on Garchomp over something like Protect. It gives you a really good matchup in the mirror. If they lead Glamora plus Garchomp or plus Whimsicott, you can trade really, really well with either Earthquake or Poison Jab, put the pressure on, potentially one-shot their Whimsicott. It just is a really, really good move into fairies. Hitting Floette is valuable. Hitting Sylveon can be valuable. I think Poison Jab does elevate it. It does leave you a little bit weak to stuff like Fake Out, but I think that's a price you're willing to take, especially in this format where Incineroar is not like the #1 guy. Next up, we have myself. I was actually able to top cut this tournament with my boy Palafin. Going into this tour, I was feeling confident in my practice and in my prep, but I just wasn't feeling confident in my team. And I was like, I kind of want to use something else. I don't know what to use. I was kind of freaking out, especially early in the week, but I had spent so much time practicing with these 6 Pokemon that I just said, you know what? I'm locking in. I'm going to use these 6. My fate is tied with them. I don't have a choice here because I do think that these 6 are really strong, and I think they're specifically very, very strong for me. So let's break down my own team. So I decided to run a Mega Frostlass and Mega Dragonite team. Me and my friends were really, really high on Frostlass. We thought Frostlass was very, very strong in the current format, but obviously it sucks into Charizard. So to combat that, we decided to we were also very high on Mega Dragonite, was to combine the two ideas. Bring in Dragonite, bring in Frostlass. Frostlass is good into everything. Dragonite is specifically very, very good into Sun. So we're like, hey, this is a really, really good combination. How do we round that out? None other than just the best Pokemon in the game, right? Like Sneasler, Garchomp, King Gambit. They make a lot of sense. They have really, really good synergy. We saw early on in the format that the combination of Sneasler, King Gambit, Frostlass is just a godlike core. These 3 are made for each other. It just makes a really, really solid defensive core. You can help set up Aurora Veils. You can help set up King Gambit. I do have coaching, which is really fun. But yeah, these 3 are a match made in heaven, so obviously they're very much going to be added to the team. Garchomp is just one of the best Pokemon in the game. Also, more Sun answers is always nice. And then we rounded out with a bulk up Palafin. There was a Palafin team going around on the ladder, and Palafin seemed really neat. And Raga was like, hey, let's try Palafin on Frostlass. It makes a lot of sense. Aurora Veil makes Palafin very, very consistent. Like turn 1, you can just Aurora Veil, switch Palafin out. You can also just Fake Out, switch Palafin out. There's a lot of easy ways to get Palafin going on the team. And I think that having Aurora Veil and both Fake Out is really, really nice for those reasons. And then King Gambit is obviously just kind of like the best Pokemon in the game. I didn't really touch on him too much, but he just fits everything so perfectly. You kind of need him for Basket Legion as well. But yeah, I managed to top cut the first Pokemon Champions tournament with this team. It was so much fun. It's very, very read heavy, and like, because I just don't have a ton of, I mean, I have Blizzard, I have Earthquake, but like, I'm not spamming Heat Waves, I'm not spamming Hyper Voices, so I do have to be very, very careful where I put my damage and how I navigate those damage turns. Also, my entire team is just like all damage guys. Like, I have some utility, right? Like in Aurora Veil and Bulk Up and in Fake Out and coaching, but sometimes it can get a little tricky. Sash Sneasler was really, really fun, very, very good. And I think that the way I played Sneasler King Gambit just kind of allowed me to just go nuts in this tournament, right? I think Palafin was, when Palafin is good and when he's incredible, he pops off. He goes absolutely nuts. Dragonite was fine as well. Again, I didn't actually play like a ton of Sun, like no Sun in day 2. I played 2 Charizards throughout the entire, or 3 Charizards throughout the tournament, which was kind of crazy, kind of nuts looking at it. But yeah, it was 3 Charizards. But at the same time, I honestly wanted to play more Charizards. I wish I got to play more Charizards because I felt so confident into Charizard, especially with my D-Knight. So D-Knight wasn't as awesome as he could have been, but I think overall the team performed exactly how I wanted it to, and I was just kind of able to outplay and go nuts. Like, because I think that this type of team needs that. You need to make the reads with King Gambit. You need to put the pressure on with Palafin. Make sure that you're jet punching at the right times. Make sure you're not wasting turns by jet punching the wrong target. So it just made a lot of sense to me to play, play the team as aggressive as possible to make sure I got those reads. And I knew going into this I would have to absolutely play nuts, and dare I say I did. So yeah, 12th place. It felt really, really good to accomplish that, especially at the first Champions tournament. I'm really happy to have cut that. But yeah, it was really fun. I'm really excited to keep trying to get better placements and to, continue my journey of trying to be the best. But man, this team was fun, and I'm really happy I brought it. I gotta say, I'll have a team report, like a full in-depth team report coming soon. But I did want to talk about my team and why I thought it was good into the current format. Next up is Chase Thompson. So Chase Thompson's got a Como team with a bulky support Gyarados. What? That's actually insane. This is like an Earthquake team, right? We got double Earthquake spam here with the Excadrill. We got Mega Tyranitar with Ice Punch. That's scary. I think that's kind of neat, right? Obviously, normally we see Low Kick, but we do have just tons of answers for King Gambit. We have Aura Sphere Como. We got Earthquake. We got Bulk Up Bird. Now, he doesn't really kill King Gambit all that fast, but he can make King Gambit not kill him. Pretty bold, though, to say that I'm not running Low Kick on T-Tar, but Ice Punch is cool because if you're playing into Garchomp, one of the best Pokemon in the game, he of course just hates seeing Ice Punch. It's really hard to trade with Mega Tyranitar as it is because his stats are so juicy. But yeah, I mean, like we have no support for this guy. We have no Fake Out. We do have this. We do have Thunder Wave helping him taunt. I think Gyarados is kind of neat. Like I think Intimidate is good. And I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily be able to deal with something as bulky physically as Thunder Wave taunt Gyarados, so that's neat. Spamming it with EQ. And yeah, I mean, you do have Follow Me. You can set up Tail when you can get this guy going, but kind of a crazy pick. Just the raw Como on the Sand team. Hell yeah. I feel like Como does fit Sand really well. Excadrill is one of the best Fairy Slayers in the game, so having Como paired with them, 2 Steel types, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, like it does look like a frustrating team to play into. The Gyarados is crazy, dude. Gyarados in the big 2/6, absolutely insane. Then we've got Brendan here with the Joe UX9 Sand team. Yeah, I think this is I think Joe ditched Mimikyu in the most recent version. I'm pretty sure he did have Habon Hydreigon. But yeah, this is just the Joe UX9 Sand team. I do think that Joe's Sand team is very, very good. Like in terms of the way Sand teams are, I think it's one of the best. I'm just not sure how to improve on it. That's the issue. Me and my friends have talked about Sand a lot. We think Sand's pretty good, but it's hard to improve upon this version without just like the tools are so nice, and once you start taking off 1 piece or 2 pieces, it just turns into like you're like, oh man, I just like auto lose to this, or like if you take off Mimikyu, for example, right? I think Sneasler can get very, very obnoxious and very, very annoying because now you don't have a really good consistent switch in. You have to be very, very careful with Excadrill. Obviously, you do have Corviknight and Excadrill to thrive and to succeed with, but at the same time, I think Sneasler gets a little bit more annoying when you don't have Mimikyu. And like, there's a ton of small little things too. If you remove Hydreigon, you remove Rotom, it's the same kind of issue. So I do think these 6 Pokemon are very strong together. The sets aren't too crazy. I do like the Haban Hydreigon. I think Hydreigon is in a pretty good spot. The only issue is that like Hydreigon sucks in the fairies. So like the rise of the fairies do suck for Hydreigon, but if you're able to play around those, or you're able to, if they don't have like a really strong fairy type, he can go nuts. He can be very, very difficult to deal with. Snarl, amazing utility. Draco Dark Pulse, obviously very strong as well. Yeah, I think he's a good Pokemon. He just needs a lot of help, and I think Sand is obviously where he shines the most because you do have Corviknight, you do have Excadrill, you do have those fairy type checks. Even Mimikyu to a degree, right? Mimikyu is able to put on pressure on Floette specifically, which is valuable. So yeah, I think Rotom Wash is also annoying and very strong in the format, and I think again he pairs incredibly well in Sand. He's just hard to bring around, put on other teams, and then Mega Tyranitar is just a beast. I think Mega Tyranitar will always be pretty good in this format just because it does match up so well into Charizard, and the only fighting type in the game is just Sneasler. So if you're able to get around Sneasler or protect yourself from Sneasler, Mega Tyranitar can shine. Next up here we have Nathan Sittler. We have Cinny Floette, which is what we've talked about prior, but on this team we have Dragon Dance, Lash Out, Mega Gyarados. Absolutely insane sauce. Mega Gyarados. I get it to a degree, right? Like Mega Gyarados he's not bad. His stats are incredible. If you look at the Mega stats, all Megas get 100 stats. Gyarados doesn't waste any on special attack, right? Gyarados, stat-wise, perfection. And I think it's really cool that he's able to change types when he Mega Evolves. It allows for a lot of very interesting, like, non-Mega plays. Especially in this format, there aren't a lot of electric types. So shedding that electric, there's like none, dude. It's like Rotom. So shedding those electric type weaknesses, you just don't need to do. You can just dance up as regular Gyarados, and then when you're ready to deal that big damage or to hit them with a Dark Stab, boom, you Mega. So I think it's a very cool idea. And also, we just see a lot of these teams, right? You bring these 4, and then you just bring another setup on. We saw one with King Gambit. We saw this one has Mega Gyarados, right? One had Mega Tyranitar. So I think it makes a lot of sense to just have, like, these 2 are just like universally support anything that wants to set up. And that's why we see so many of them. And that's why we see Cinny rise in usage. Floette, obviously, we got the Calm Mind Draining Kiss set. We're able to make Floette go nuts. We're able to keep spamming those spread moves, but in the off chance that Gyarados is the one, we can set him up as well. There's also not a ton of Intimidate. Obviously, Incineroar is still great. He's still on a lot of teams, but if you play in a team without Intimidate, this guy just gets to go unhindered the entire time. You can just fake out. You could also just bring him and try to sweep as regular Gyarados, right? Like certain teams probably just crumble to waterfall spam after you set up. So you also can coach him. Coaching is very neat here. We have Coaching Sneasler. But yeah, I think this team looks really cool. Can coach Floette. It's very just like set up, right? It's like what we've seen before. But instead with a Gyarados, and then Garchomp to round everything out. He's just one of the best guys in the format. He trades well with everything. He's got Poison Jab. Roselia Berry's cool too, specifically for the Mega Floette mirror. Having a Pokemon that can potentially speed type, like if they're timid Floette, that sucks. Most of the time they are not, but if they are timid Floette, you are able to potentially you won't outspeed them, you speed tie them, but you're able to outspeed the modest ones with ease and spam Poison Jab. But yeah, I think this team is really cool. It makes a lot of sense with like how we're seeing this as like a very common build though, and it makes sense in the current context of the format. So now we are into top 8 with William Brown being our first top 8 player here with kind of a crazy Espathra Politoed team. So I feel like Espathra was very, very hype, right? We saw some Sableye Espathra. This one is Scovilla Espathra. Espathra was looking cool. Baton Pass is neat. You're able to help set up your Pokemon in the back with big Calm Minds. And I feel like William did that here. But obviously with Mega Scovillain instead, which I think is pretty cool because you're able to potentially lead these 2 together. It's very, very annoying. Getting through Scovillain and Espathra can be almost impossible, right? Like, it's a matchup check in and of itself. If you can't break Scovillain before Espathra gets going, they're going to pass it to Arch, and he's going to be Calm Mind speed boosted. He's going to be spamming Electro Shots, and then Politoed can come in the rain, and you're just gonna get swept. He's gonna go nuts, right? This is a Mystic Water Politoed, which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, it's just a very simple strategy. You lead these two, you set him up, you get going. But I think what's cool is there's obviously a lot of depth here. That's not the only way to run the team. We also have Politoed in Rain. You can help enable Archaludon. You can also potentially lead Sneasler plus a Spothra past the Calm Minds to a Dragonite with Multiscale, who is now almost impossible to kill. He's able to spam those Dragon Pulses, spam Hurricane in the Rain, and just go nuts. I think it's very hard to get around both megas here because they play very, very differently, right? Depending on who you think a Spothra's passing to, you have to approach them with different Pokemon, right? Like a fighting type Pokemon like Sneasler could be very, very good into Archaludon, but it's going to be terrible into this Dragonite. So yeah, you can just lead these two. You can lead these two. It's just a like true setup a Spothra team. Also, a Spothra is really neat because it like if you don't even set up. We saw a little bit of this in the stream matches. Sometimes you're able to just spam Lumina Crash, which is basically Fake Tears, but a damaging move. So you're able to hit something with Lumina Crash, their special defense drops by 2 stages, and then Dragonite can just pick them off with a Dragon Pulse. You can pick off something with a Dragon Pulse or Flash Cannon from Archaludon as well. So Spothra, even though it's kind of gimmicky and cheesy, like you obviously have to respect what it's doing if it's setting up the Calm Mind Baton Pass, but at the same time, you don't have to play that way. And if they don't play that way, they can catch you off guard. They can go on the offense on turn 1, hit you with a Lumina Crash, hit you with a Dragon Pulse, and you might just lose right there. So I think it's a very cool, there's a lot of depth, a lot of, like, obviously on the surface, it looks very simple and easy to play, but it also does have that leverage and that skill gap that you can perform with it. You can power a Politoed too. Like, what wants to take a Lumina Crash Weather Ball from Mr. Toad? Politoed is a nuke when it comes to Weather Ball. So a very, very cool team. Yeah, that team is sick. I would not want to have played that. That was so scary. And then we have MJ Rogers. So this is the team that I actually lost to, and it's kind of sick. It's kind of sick with it. A lot of, like, obviously some of the stuff is pretty standard, pretty boring. I think even the 6 Pokemon themselves aren't too crazy, but I think all of the sets and the way they combine together makes it a very interesting team and a very hard team to approach in team preview, right? I think Incin, Ferrograph, Charizard is a very, very good core. I think it's so difficult to call what they're gonna do, right? Like, you have this tail room mode. You have to basically say, hey, they're leading Giraffe, I'm gonna lead this, or you say, hey, they're leading Aerodactyl, I need to combat it in this way. But not only that, it's a double mega team with Mega Garchomp. But what I think is really cool about Garchomp too is obviously in Trick Room he loses speed, so in Trick Room he's valuable, but he also just is like a solid, like, regular non-mega Pokemon, right? Like, you can definitely bring these 2 Pokemon together, Mega the Charizard, and Garchomp's still great, so it's not a huge deal. One crazy thing is he's not actually running Rock Slide, but is instead running Stomping Tantrum. When we were actually playing in Top Cut, I skimmed the sheet very briefly, and turn 1 of the game 3, he went for Earthquake, and I had my King Gambit out in front of him, and he had his Sylveon out, and I said, hey, I'm just gonna go for Iron Head because I know he can't really punish me. What is he gonna go for? Dragon Claw, Rock Slide? No, dude. He's stomping my King Gambit, and he died, and I basically lost the game on the spot. Yeah, Stomping Tantrum's good. Stomping Tantrum's good to have a move that you can hit, especially in Trick Room, like having this, so you don't have to Earthquake your Giraffe every single time. You definitely probably do, but just having Stomping so that you can threaten those big ground moves and just put pressure on even when there's a partner next to you is incredibly valuable, let me tell you. The Aerodactyl set is absolutely insane. We got Sunny Day, Tailwind, and Wide Guard. It's pure support, no Protect, and no flying move. But I think Rock Slide is all you really need, and I think those support moves can come up real clutch. The Sylveon isn't too crazy, no Hyper Beam though, but instead has Moonblast and Quick Attack. We've seen some Calm Mind Moonblast, but I think Moonblast is still solid. Having that single target focus damage to pick off Pokemon like Garchomp without having, like bulky Garchomp, without having to commit Hyper Beam is really nice. Twin Beam is crazy, really good in the Sash Sneasler. And then Helping Hand, Trick Room is good. Twisted Spoon is pretty nuts, but I think it's just like, hey, I want to deal damage, right? Like, if I lead these 2, I want to put pressure on you with the Quiet Nature, with the Twisted Spoon, so I can start getting KOs and start using my Trick Room turns accordingly. Parting Shot, Incin, Fake Out Incin, right? This just supports the Ferrograph. It's just so good with Ferrograph, just setting up Trick Room. It also works with Aerodactyl as well, just being a fast fire type. Like, Incin, he can deal damage in the sun. So I think pairing him with Tail Room is always very valuable. He can go nuts in Trick Room and in Tailwind. And then Charizard, of course, the GOAT. Charizard, the best Mega. Synergizes with everything here, is honestly pretty solid in Trick Room into the right teams. Sometimes, like, if you don't run much speed on Charizard, he can just be a Trick Room sweeper himself. So I think he can go nuts in Trick Room, he can go nuts in Tailwind, and you have to respect him no matter which version he's coming in. Next up, we have Alex Underhill, my boy. Alex and I worked together on we kind of had the same team, but he made his own version, and I kind of stuck with the original version that Raghav made. Raghav did help with this version a bit, but this is mostly just Alex and Justin's team child. But it was based on, they just kind of thought different parts of the team were stronger, right? They didn't believe in the coaching Sneasler. They really liked White Herb Sneasler. They also didn't really like Triple Berry King Gambit and wanted to rely more on Aurora Veil or just killing it, and instead wanted to run Black Glasses to deal that big damage to potential Scarf Basculegions. Also, fun fact, if you look here, Alex is the only Basculegion in top 8. I think there's one Basculegion here. There's only 2 Basculegions in Cut, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. But yeah, Alex is the only one in top 8, which is kind of wild. But yeah, Basculegion with Citrus Berry, I think makes a lot of sense on this team because you're able to enable it with Aurora Veil. It becomes really, really bulky, really hard to deal with. And if you run something like Sash, you don't get that value. So you're kind of just left with either Mystic Water or Citrus Berry, but Citrus Berry is pretty lit. Garchomp, obviously, it's very similar to the team I ran. Sneasler, King Gambit, Frostlass, Godlike Core. Garchomp pairs incredibly well as a Charizard answer. Like, a lot of the answers were the same thing. I just had Palafin because he's cooler, and they had Basculegion because they thought he was more consistent. But I think they both ended up being really, really good. I loved Palafin all day. I was a little nervous to use him because I was like, should I be using Basculegion? He's the best Pokemon in the game. But Palafin does things that are different, and he does put on pressure with priority. My team was more about priority spam, where I think Alex's team is about just trading with you with Aurora Veil or with just his natural bulk. But he also decided to run Thunderbolt on Dragonite, which I think is a really, really strong, good tech. It helps with some of the bad matchups, like Milotic, stuff of that nature. So I like T-Bolt as well. But yeah, Dragonite did really, really well for Alex as well. He was another Frostlass. Obviously, we're in the same building group, so a lot of our ideas are very similar, and our teams ended up being very, very similar. But yeah, he thought Roselia was better. I like Citrus. I had coaching, so I felt like coaching Citrus was very strong. He felt like he didn't have coaching, so he just wanted him to be like a raw damage dealer. And yeah, I had E-Speed on Dragonite to pick off Whimsicott. He had Thunderbolt to help with bulky waters. Very valid. Next up here, we have Evan Scott with another Frostlass team as well here. We have Glamora Frostlass, which is not something you traditionally see, but I think it's kind of cool, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, Frostlass hates Charizard. Charizard is a demon, so we obviously run Garchomp, but also having this Sash Glamora that's really difficult to trade into. It outspeeds a lot of Charizards as well, or it just has Tailwind, which is nice. I also think that, like, having Frostlass Whimsicott is really fun because it kind of forces your opponent to attack, right? Like, because if I lead Frostlass Whimsicott, what if I just set up Aurora Veil? You know what I mean? Like, I could just Tailwind Aurora Veil. I could just be on the defensive there, but most likely you're not going to protect. So I think it's just because of Encore. So I think it's really nice. It just allows you to just let Frostlass be Frostlass and deal big damage, right? Like, you're afraid of protecting because of Encore, you're afraid of protecting because of Aurora Veil. So then I'm just going to press Blizzard, and you have to take the damage, you have to respect it. And I'm just going to deal big damage, like I mentioned. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Frostlass Whimsicott was also something we saw do well in Victory Road. I think it helps out with Frostlass a bit because you do kind of need to match where the Charizards are going speed-wise. So having your own Tailwind is very, very valuable. We also have a bulk up body press Corviknight. We normally don't see Corviknight outside of Sand at all, but again, he's relying on both Glamora and Garchomp to help deal, and Incin to a degree, to help deal with the Charizards so that Corviknight can shine. It does look like it would be weak to Charizard, but at the same time, he was dispatching all the Charizards. He was winning. So it looks like it potentially is weak to Charizard, but yeah, look, he played Charizard like every other round. So clearly this team has a good Charizard matchup, and he was able to navigate those incredibly well. So then it makes sense that Corviknight's on the team because he can come in and shine in those other matchups and just solo Sand by himself or whatever he's going to do. So I think this is a really cool team, and the fact that we do have Corviknight, and he is a good Pokemon, it's just hard to fit him on teams. So congrats to Evan for doing as well as he did. This team is absolutely nuts. And just something I think a lot of people wouldn't be prepared for. Now, next up, we are in two top four. First things first, we got Nick Navarre. Nick, known as Nails, is an incredible player, and it makes sense that we see Nails at the highest level here. Nails is running a solo mega Floette team with Talonflame and Palafin as well. We do see, again, we're seeing similar-ish vibes to what we saw earlier. We have this Sneasler that is able to fake out, help enable our Floette. We have Instant to help enable Floette. No Cinny this time, but instead we have both King Gambit and Palafin. We're able to potentially bulk up. We can fake out bulk up, get him going in the late game, or we can fake out Swords Dance and let King Gambit get going in the late game. So I think both of these combinations are really, really good. Yeah, I think it's just like you have bulk up, you got Calm Mind, you got Swords Dance. You're able to enable them all in ways and just be annoying as possible. Yeah, double fake out, just so good with all these setup Pokemon. And then you just have a Will-O-Wisp Talonflame. I think it sounds really, really good. I think Wisp is just a great move. This meta is almost all physical, so having Will-O-Wisp on any Pokemon is fire, but also on a Pokemon that can outspeed stuff like Garchomp, like Sneasler even, right? And potentially getting those Wisps off before they're able to move is super insane. Like, Rotom is great, don't get me wrong, but being able to Wisp before stuff like Garchomp is even better. But yeah, so we see a very cool team from Nails. It's just like all setup, no healing, which is fine. But yeah, it's very cool, very interesting. There's not too much to say, right? Like, he literally is just gonna lead one of his setup guys, and he's gonna enable them, or he's gonna lead Palafin, and then just switch in another setup guy, or switch in Instant, right? And just try to navigate Palafin into a good spot. The bulk up set here as well. I think Palafin is very strong, specifically with bulk up leftovers, though. I think it makes the most sense with him. It lets him just really shine as a Pokemon. I'm a huge fan of the set. I think Mystic Water Palafin's bad and not great. I think he doesn't want to be on Rain, but when he's bulking up, he's unkillable. This format is all physical. He has amazing stats. Let Palafin be Palafin. What a sick team. Yeah, just cool stuff. I like the Talonflame as well a lot. Next up, we have Michael Zhang. Michael Zhang is an incredibly insane builder. I also work with Michael a lot. He kind of just lives in his own world, though. He builds his own teams, and we say, whoa, Michael, that's really cool. That's crazy. You're using that? And he goes, yes, it's very good. And we go, okay, cool. We just kind of let Michael be Michael. And I love to just kind of take a peek, you know, in his channel, see what he's doing, and I go, oh, that's insane. And Michael, sometimes it blows up in his face. I won't lie. But sometimes he really shines. And here, he really shined with a top 4 finish. I also had the honor to play Michael in day 2. He did kick my ass. But Michael made it to top 4 of the tournament with Corviknight Tyranitar. Now, what makes this team insane is, of course, the double weather. The double mega double weather. Obviously, we see a lot of these sand Pokemon, right? Like these 4, a common sand core. A very strong sand core. But then these 3 are just absolutely kind of nuts. The max speed Hisuian Sash Arcanine with Rockhead Head Smash is nuts. I think it's so cool, though. I think Michael's team was so good into the current meta specifically. Obviously, he fell a little bit short at the end. But man, Timid Frostlass is really good. He's able to approach all the other Frostlasses with ease. He also has Weather Ball instead of Aurora Veil. I don't think it really came up in terms of like having a rock weather ball, but just having that single target ice move is really nice, especially because he is timid. Scarf Hydreigon is very good into Basque Legion. Akaberry Corviknight is kind of strange, but at the same time, he isn't a traditional sand team, so having that extra insurance against sun teams is really nice because he does really want to get the Tailwinds up. I think he's mainly using Corviknight as a Tailwind bot instead of, you know, like we see sometimes with the bulk up sets with lefties. They're just trying to potentially checkmate you with Corviknight, but Michael said, no, this thing's meant to trade. He's meant to set up Tailwind. He's meant to deal damage, and then he's meant to go down, right? Like, he's not there for the long haul. Obviously, he can be, but he's got that good steal coverage. He's got that flying coverage. He's just good into the format. But yeah, the Akaberry is a really cool choice. Not something you see a lot of. Mega Tyranitar, of course, is just a great Pokemon. Michael told me a lot of the times he would just bring double Mega and he would just Mega Frostlass. He said Frostlass was his best Mega throughout the tournament to help enable Frostlass to shine. But also having the threat of Mega Tyranitar is very real. Like, it's a really good 3-game mix-up. Garchomp is just the best Pokemon in the game. And yeah, I think it's just a very cool team. Arcanine can do just so much damage. It hits a very high speed stat as well. The way Rockhead works is you take no recoil. So you just have to eat flare blitzes and head smashes. Just these high base powered moves over and over again is just brutal, dude. It's just brutal to deal with. But yeah, I think it's a very cool team, a very strange team, and just not something you'd necessarily be super prepared for. But we got amazing earthquake spam. Hell, you can earthquake frostlass. We got double weather control, and we got Sash Arcanine. What a cool team from Michael. Michael always knows how to cook. And now we have second place, Wolf Glick. Wolf came to this tournament with some absolute sauce. Mega Steelix. Mega Steelix in the finals. I think it was such a smart call, though. It really was. Like, last week, another creator made like a Mega Steelix team, which I'm not gonna lie, I think they stole it from Wolf off ladder, because no one could come to the same conclusion of these 6 Pokemon. And it is so smart. Watching Wolf play, I feel like this wasn't a Mega Steelix team, but just simply one of the best Mega Tyranitar teams. Throughout this entire top cut and throughout this tournament, we see Mega Tyranitar after Mega Tyranitar. He did really well, right? We had, what was this, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Tyranitars in top 16. Almost a third of the cut was Mega Tyranitar. That's kind of nuts. But I think Wolf's team is just so smart in enabling Mega Tyranitar, right? A lot of the other Mega Tyranitars, they just kind of use them to counter Charizard or to reclaim their weather. But this Mega Tyranitar team was about Mega Tyranitar. It was about setting him up with Dragon Dances, because again, there isn't a ton of Incineroar. So if there's no Incineroar on the enemy team, this guy can just set up, boost, and what do? How do you combat that, right? He's jolly as well, so he can outspeed some pretty big Pokemon. We saw it outspeed Alex's Basket Legion. Like 124 speed is just really good number to hit in the current format. A lot of Pokemon are weak to rocks. You have Hack's Chance with Rock Slide. But not only that, like Knockoff is legit a nuclear bomb when you start getting those dances up. It does so much damage, the stab Knockoff. He also has so many ways to help enable that, right? He has Cinny, he has Sneasler. Like from watching his sets, he just played Cinny better than everyone else, right? Like he was just enabling Tyranitar to go infinite and just take down entire teams by itself. It was a very cool thing to see, because at first glance you just think, oh, it's kind of a Mega Steelix team. Steelix is trying to just like trade really well, and obviously in certain matchups he does need to bring it and does need to rely on it. But I was like, yeah, it's kind of just a Steelix team, right? Nah, dude, it's a Tyranitar team. Rotom is also just really deadly, being able to spam Will-O-Wisp and Light Screen. You basically kind of like, in my opinion, he's kind of like he's like a screens bot. He's like a Grimmsnarl almost, right? He's like, set up the screen, get the Wisp. What I think cool is too is like, if you look at this format, a lot of the teams are physical, right? There's a lot of physical Pokemon. So Rotom can oftentimes just Wisp an opponent and just say, hey, I'm Wisping that slot. What do you switch? Because most of the special attackers in the format are the Mega, and if you have your Mega already out, or you have your special attacker already out, Rotom can freely just spam Wisps into one slot, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I think this Wisp Rotom set with Light Screen is sick, and I think it was just perfect to help enable almost anything on this team, whether it's Swords Dance Talonflame or Mega Tyranitar setup. I think Wolf really cooked with this one, and I think he you could see it, dude. I could feel it watching him on stream. He was there to try hard. Obviously, he's always there to try hard, but I think he really wanted this win. And he brought such a cool team. I would have never expected Mega Steelix. But honestly, looking at it, it makes sense. I think it does as the high defense stat. I think having that ground coverage is really valuable. And Heavy Slam just does nuclear damage. You can see a little bit of util with Wide Guard as well. But yeah, just a really cool team. Swords Dance Talonflame is also nuts. Especially with Gale Wings, it's absurd. Obviously, you're not gonna run Flame Body, but it is kind of neat that you could heal it back up with Cinny. Gale Wings in the sand is brutal, but Wolf made it work. And I think that Talonflame is still a good addition. He's got so much setup for the T-Tar. Why can't he just set up the Talonflame as well? It's not something a lot of people would necessarily be prepared for. But yeah, I really can't. I think it's just a sick team, and it's so cool that Wolf was able to go so deep into the tournament with Mega Steelix. Try to win with his boy. A very cool team from Wolf, but unfortunately he was defeated by Arsenal here with, again, one of those Protect the Queen comps. This is actually a very common team, but usually they have, let's see if I can find one. I don't really want to scroll for it, but usually this team just has a Aegislash over the Venusaur. But Arsenal said, I think Venusaur is very, very good. And I kind of agree. I think Venusaur, the issue with Venusaur is, of course, that like it can miss. So you have to deal with that, right? But when it hits, Sleep Powder is absurd. Like if you look at a lot of these top cut teams, well, the problem is too, is that the Pokemon, there's no safety goggles. So the Pokemon that dodge Sleep Powder can't beat Charizard, right? Like if you're using a grass type like Cinny, like Scovillain, like any Whimsicott, need I say more? If you have a grass type, it's weak to the sun. So these two are just such a deadly combination because they're going to sleep. Something's gonna sleep. Obviously, you can dodge it, and that's usually what ends up having to happen. But if you can hit a sleep powder, sometimes the game just ends. I also think having the Sludge Bomb obviously is very valuable as well because you're able to threaten the grass types. You're able to threaten the Pokemon weak to poison, which I think there's a lot of. I think it's good into enemy Floettes as well. This lead is just so annoying and so toxic to deal with. It also is running Earth Power. Yeah, I think this team is going to be a problem. This one's going to be a problem, boys. But Charizard also synergizes so well with Incin, synergizes so well with Cinny. But then, outside of that, you might have to deal with a Mega Floette team, right? Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam. You might have to deal with these three, just spamming setup, trying to get this thing going. But Venusaur can also be brought outside of the sun. It's still naturally very, very fast. It's timid nature. And you can just hit those sleep powders. And if they hit a sleep powder on you while you're trying to deal with a Calm Mind Floette, it's just cooked. It's just cooked. And then to round it out, we also have Scarf Garchomp, who is just very, very solid, very, very good in the format, able to do lots of damage, has that really nice speed ceiling that gives the team a lot of help, right? I think he's just strong. He's just a strong, fast Pokemon. And obviously we do have fast Pokemon here. But yeah, he just kind of rounds out this back version of the team, this back portion here that gives the Floette mode, just makes it so deadly, right? To have to also deal with the Scarf Garchomp. So honestly, Arsenal played incredible throughout the tournament, only losing one time here in the Floette mirror, but then just winning all the way through, beating some of the best players in the game, including beating Wolf Glick here. So congrats to Arsenal for winning the first ever Pokemon Champions tournament, and I expect Venusaur to be in our future. This guy is going to be a problem. Just a really great call to put him on the team and to be able to put pressure on with those sleep powders. It looked really disgusting in his match versus Wolf, and I think he was just playing. He was on one, dude. He was playing incredible throughout the tournament. But that's it. That's our first Pokemon Champions regional breakdown of all the teams, or of the top 16 teams. Obviously, there's 1,000 people here, so there's so many more teams. I will link this website down below to use it up. This is Report Worm standings. It's so goated. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Where is the meta going? What can we expect to see? And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.